you're here, like, I'm so proud of you, this is awesome. And I would take that little bit of people's opinions of me, and it would feel good for a second, and then it'd instantly be gone. Like, I'm so unhappy, I'm so mad at everything, but like, that's what was making me mad and depressed, was like, I shouldn't be. Like, it's like the complete opposite. And this is when I really realized, what else is there to gain? This is when I had my supernatural encounter with Jesus. And this is where my life has completely changed. This is where everything has fell into place. I see chosen Jesus, because that's my best representation of him, with his little sandals and robe, sit down right in front of me, and he goes, "What do you want, Tanner? I'm here." And I go, "Jesus, is that you?" And he's like, "Yes, what do you want?" And it's like a whisper, though. It's like his voice is so soft, but like I see him and I feel him. Like I felt like there was a physical being right in front of me. He basically just said, "Tanner, do you think carrying my cross was easy?" Tanner, I'm not asking you like all of this stuff, like that it's going to be easy, that it's going to do it, but it's going to be worth it. So please just pick up your cross, focus on me, and surrender, because you don't know what I can do with a surrendered life. I don't feel any different. I said, I don't feel differently on the inside. I said, but like, I'm going to be different. Like, I'm going to surrender my life. Their words will be sweet, but their hearts will be far from me. They will praise me with their words, but their heart will be distant and cold. That's exactly how I was. So like, we can say we're Christian. We can say we follow Jesus. I basically had to get broken to be a new person. But just like Paul says, like, the old is dead. Like when you give your life to Jesus, like, you can't be walking in the old anymore. Because if you're still walking in the old, then have you really given your life to God?
This week is part 2 of Tanner's testimony. So if you have not yet watched last week's episode, we encourage you to do that before listening to today's, just to get a better understanding of his life, his story, and what led him to this moment with Jesus.
I always wanted to convince myself, oh, I'm still Christian. I'm still good, because I don't want to go to hell if I die, but like, I don't really want to live the way he wants to. And so that transitions into, from high school, now I'm basically just chasing approval. I want people to approve of me. And so I think, honestly, growing up in Lebanon, that's why I wanted to be Christian, was because there's a lot of people, everyone's Christian around here, or everyone's labels themselves as Christian around here. And so I was like, well, I need to be a good old boy, and I need to fit in like a Christian. So that's why FCA, oh, that's a great college resume. That's a good on my college resume. I need to do that. That shows leadership position. And so with all of that, I was just now chasing a title and a platform for me to have respect. And what did I think? I was like, you know what? Well, what do I do with my life now that I'm about to go into college and do all this stuff? Oh, I just need to have people respect me. And honestly, going out of high school, I needed to get as far away from Lebanon, Missouri as I possibly could. All Lebanon reminded me of was, again, the devil just had me in my ear of saying, no one here cares about you. Everyone here just feels sorry for you. Like, you are just such this lost, like, little puppy that people feel so like, oh, poor kid, poor Tanner. Because that's how I felt. I would go to people and they would just be like, I'm so sorry about your mom. I'm so sorry that you had cancer. Like, and I just felt like people just looked at me like I was just like this just broken thing. And that's how I wanted to be the opposite of that. I wanted to be, I'm not a broken thing. I'm a strong, I'm like successful. I'm Tanner Strong, baby. And I'm just like this most successful person. Like, what do you think? And like, why do you think I'm broken? Why would you even say that I'm broken? Like, I'm not broken, even though I was broken. So it's crazy looking back on it. I was shattered. I was completely broken.
Yeah.
And I had no sense of strength and real stuff. And I was broke. And so, but people saying, oh, you might be broken, or I thought that. And so I was reflecting it. Fast forward, I'm like, okay, how do I be the most successful person ever? How do I get out of Lebanon? How do I make a lot of money? How do I have people respect me instantly? Oh, a doctor's great. Like, I like science. I like math. I'll just go do that. So this is God's calling for me. He called me to be a doctor because I went through all these things in my past. Obviously, this is what it is, right? And no, it was just me picking a thing that I thought was going to chase, not even listening to God, not praying to God, not talking to him, not doing anything, but just labeling, throwing God, saying, yep, this is my calling, this is what I need to do. And so go to Mizzou, and I get there, and this is kind of a common theme in my life from here on out, is thinking that the grass is greener on the other side, thinking that the next thing, like I'm just always chasing the next thing, chasing the next thing, chasing the next thing. And I think that's really where my worldly desires, it's just because everything is from the world. It's here and then it's gone. And so this is when I started really chasing those things, and just my appetite was never filled. So I got to Mizzou, and it was my freshman year, and I was in biochemistry. I was getting good grades. I was pre-med society. I was doing all these things. I was away from Lebanon. I was like trying to build my career, trying to build myself towards this person who I thought I needed to be. And I still felt so empty. It was like, why did all my problems follow me? Why am I still so broken? Why do, like, again, I could go out and be this person that everyone saw on social media, saw in just when they saw me, they were like, oh, you're doing great. You're here. Like, I'm so proud of you. This is awesome. And I would take that little bit of people's opinions of me, and it would feel good for a second, and then it'd instantly be gone. And I needed more of it. I needed so much more of it. I needed so much more of everything. I needed more accomplishments, and it just put me in a constant state of chasing. I was constantly chasing everything. I was chasing better grades. I was chasing more accomplishments. I was chasing all these things so people could just say, I'm proud of you, Tanner. I'm proud of you, Tanner. Like, Tanner, you're doing such a good job. That fueled everything for me. But it was so here, and then it wasn't. Like, like my favorite book in the Bible now is like Ecclesiastes.
That's my favorite.
Like, yeah, because I mean, that's King Solomon. He's writing like vanity, vanity, vanity. You're chasing the wind. And so like this is now the theme of my life. And so I get to college, and I'm like, man, I thought this was supposed to be the answer. I thought this was supposed to fix everything. I thought I was going to start feeling better, and I just feel worse. I just feel more empty. And so again, no coping mechanisms, no Jesus, no nothing. My only coping mechanisms are weed and alcohol. And so and now I have freedom to do it. And I don't have any people, because in college it's praised. Like, if you're not drinking, if you're not smoking, if you're not doing all these stuff, I still was getting good grades, but I was like, I can start drinking on a Tuesday because that's just what I do. I don't have any responsibilities. I can just do whatever I want. And so just turned it into more and more reliance and codependence on feeling numb through those things, not being able to handle my own emotions, not surrendering to God. And so that was like my freshman year. Going into my sophomore year, I fell into a horrible depression, just because I started to hit rock bottom again, realizing that, like, wow, I can chase and chase and chase, and then I'm still just so constantly hungry. I'm still so constantly, it's never ending. And then, like, yeah, you feel good when you get high, or you feel good when you get drunk for an hour or two, and then the next morning you feel worse. So you just need to keep doing it, and then you just follow in a constant cycle of just waking up, feeling depressed, numbing yourself, going throughout your day, getting a couple I'm proud of you Tanners, those going away, and then you just feel like you're just constantly in this never-ending cycle of just like the world is devouring you a little bit. And so I just got so depressed. And I remember this is really kind of like the first time I got into a really bad spot. Actually, I pretty much pushed everybody away from me. This is when I kind of hit my second rock bottom. So like first one was when my mom died. I thought I was like able to handle all this stuff on my own, and I got to a spot. So this was about 4 years later, and then I hit rock bottom again because I realized, like, I thought it was going to get better, and it wasn't. And so then I pushed everybody away from me. I pushed all these people away from me. I pushed Jenna, my now wife, away from me. I didn't want anybody to be around me. I thought I was unlovable. I was self-destructing. Again, all of my brokenness, all of my insecurities was reflecting onto other people. And so people who really did care about me, people who really did love me, people who really wanted the best for me, I would never allow that, because the devil said I was broken. The devil said I was, you're not worth anything. And I thought that truly of myself. So I thought nobody can love me because I'm so broken. Nobody can love me or want me because I'm this. So I just pushed everybody away, hit rock bottom, got into a spot where, again, I wasn't suicidal, but I lost my will to live. I didn't care if I lived or died. I was just so done with living. And that's really when I got to a spot where I was like, I guess I can't do this on my own anymore. And so thankfully for some good friends in Colombia, they pulled me out and they actually got me back into a church up in Colombia, and they were loving on me. They were pushing me. And I mean, that's really where I started. I would say Christ reintroduced himself into my life, or I accepted. He was always there, but that I was open to even accepting him again. So 4 years later, after I pretty much said no thank you to him anymore, he came back into my life, and man, I got on fire for Jesus, right? This is like my sophomore year of college. I got on fire for Jesus. Everything's starting to click again. I start getting involved in church. I start getting involved into, again, kind of like my accolades again, trying to get involved in volunteering, doing this. But I felt like my heart was right at the moment, but I was getting all the way to the point of full surrenderance. And I was getting 90% there, 95% there. And I would get on these really hot and cold cycles because, again, I was right there, but I really wouldn't want to surrender everything. I really wouldn't want to give him all my pain. I really wouldn't want to surrender, well, God, I trust you that you can take all this away, but marijuana and alcohol do this pretty well too. So like, I don't really want to live like a Christian. Like, I still have fun, man. Like, I like going down to like the bars. I like going and doing this stuff. Like I don't really want to give this to you because like, I think I can do it better still. I didn't want to give him my plans for my future. I didn't want to give him all this stuff. So I loved the idea of what God could do for me, but I didn't love what I had to do for the kingdom. I didn't love what I actually had to truly surrender. I didn't like picking up my cross. I didn't like surrendering my life for his. Like, I didn't want to give up the world. And so I was at this crossroads many times in this walk where I was like so close, like again, like a Nicodemus, like Jesus was pouring into my life. I was reaping the benefits of like having true peace again, having true joy again, like really getting so close. But then I would come to these crossroads where it's like, okay, you have to pick one or the other. Like, which one are you going to pick? Are you going to pick me, Tanner? Or are you going to continue to pick the world? And I would pick the world, and then I would get these loops, and I would fall off again, and I would get cold from Jesus, and things would go on, and I would start prioritizing my stuff, my things. I would start prioritizing what Tanner wants, and so I would fall out of church again, and I wouldn't go as much as often and stuff like that. My prayer life was non-existent, but I would read the Bible, but me reading the Bible would start falling off again, and I would slip, and so this continued for about 2 to 3 years of just me getting really hot for God, getting to the point of surrenderance, feeling like Tanner, you need to surrender. You need to like stop doing this stuff. You need to like give me your life. And I would say pretty much no. Like, God, I want to do this so bad. But I obviously didn't because my actions never followed. I was still wanting to choose the world with everything. I was wanting to choose the world chasing money. I was wanting to choose the world with chasing titles. I was wanting to choose the world with my coping mechanisms because I was like, God, you can't handle my anxiety. You can't handle my depression. These things can, but I don't trust you enough to do it. So like I don't really want to give that up yet because like that's how I was out at this point. I wasn't even doing it for fun. I was just like, that makes me feel better. It makes me feel a little less stressed. It makes me feel a little less anxious. I'm a happier person when I do these things. And so I just kept on relying on that. And then I would just get so close, and I was just constantly so close, so close, so close. And now I guess this kind of transitions into my third period is so as these are going on, I'm so like my sophomore year of college, and now I finished college. I graduated from a zoo with biochem degree in 2024. Jenna and I got married my senior year of college. So we got married, and then we got pregnant with my now daughter, River. She's crazy. Shout out Sugar May. And so we got pregnant with her. I was at a really good spot with Jesus in my life. I was at one of the high moments. Again, like I would kind of cycle through. Like during this time, I think there's probably 4 or 5 cycles where I'd get really, really, and I mean, like, I'm so close, guys. Like, it was just like, I'm like tipping the edge. Like, it was like, if you take one step and just have the leap of faith, your life can change, Tanner. And I would get so close. Like, God was working in my life, but I was still rejecting him. because I was basically treating him like a genie, I think. And I think that's how a lot of Christians treat him. And a lot of people who think they're like, say they're Christian, they treat him still, especially American Christianity. It's how can God work for me instead of how can I work for God? And it's like, how can God better my life? And we supplement him in when it's convenient for us. And that's how I lived. Well, God, this is really where it started becoming a works-based relationship. It was like, well, God, I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to go to church every Sunday. And I'm going to do all these things. And I'm going to do my tithe and offering. And I'm going to try to read my Bible app. And all those things, doing those things, you do get closer to God, because it does force you in those positions where you are starting to build that relationship with him. But me not actually trusting him and surrendering to him, it was still so surface level, and it was becoming works based, where then one slip and I was off, one slip and I was not there anymore. And so that was basically what's happening. And I was just becoming like, well, God, the more I do for you, the more you're going to do for me. The more I do for you, the better you're going to bless me. The more like I give, the more I do stuff. Like I looked at tithing as more I tithe, the more I'm going to get back. I looked at the more I volunteered in the church, the more people are going to respect me, the better positions you're going to give me. I looked at the more my church attendance is going to bless me more. That's how I kind of started looking at it. And I didn't think that at the time, but looking back on it, that's what it was. It was a give and take. It was transactional. God, I'll give you this, but you owe me something. Like you owe me stuff, because like I'm giving you my life a little bit, so you need to help me out, right? And so that's kind of how I was living. And again, I was getting so close, and I was falling off, getting so close and falling off. And so fast forward, Jenna and I are about to move back to Lebanon. Never thought that in my entire life, I can tell you that. Decided that the med school route really wasn't for me. I've kind of got in a really good spot. I got into therapy, started handling my coping mechanisms differently. Okay, no, not really. I was still kind of doing that, but I was
therapy and a little alcohol and marijuana.
Yeah, I was handling my probably how I regulated my emotions a little better. Instead of being completely numb, I was actually able to start working through my childhood trauma of losing my mom, going through that stuff. So I was on the right path of like doing the things. So I was at a really good spot in my life. I was like, I think we can go build a house. Let's do it. Let's go build a house. Let's go have a baby. We're married. Let's go build a business together. Like, I think this is all going to be great. And I was at an absolute high of my life. And then we moved back to Lebanon. And again, I was chasing the next thing without God. I was chasing what I could do. And so I think this was at the time in my life where I don't want to say God gives you like chances and then he's like, okay, I'm going to watch you do this now. But I felt like that's kind of what it was. It was like, Tanner, I've given you so many chances to kind of like turn towards me, but you still won't give up your things. I'm going to let you carry it. What's the verse basically where it's like, pray them into the hands of the devil? I think, I forget the verse. We're going to have to look it up afterwards, but it's like, if they won't follow me, like pray them into the hands of the devil. And basically what that verse means is it's pretty hard. It's pretty harsh, but the Bible also has some pretty hard things to listen to. And again, so I would only pick it was a works-based stuff. So I only wanted, what I expected from God was unlimited grace, unlimited mercy, blessings, take away my anxiety, take away my pain, take away my fear, take away all these things, but I don't want to actually have to do anything for it. I just want to I'll do what I need to, but I don't want any of that. And so that verse basically is like, okay, if you're basically not going to surrender, turn them over to the devil, so your vices, to the world, and let it break you so that you really truly realize that you need me and you need me to have it. And so I truly believe that was what this season of my life turned into. So Jenna and I moved back to Lebanon. We have River. We are building our business. We're building a house. Everything should be going right. Everything on paper looks right. I married my high school sweetheart. We're having a beautiful, healthy baby girl. Our business is growing and it's building and it's thriving. We're building a brand new house and we're 3 years old. This is awesome. This is amazing. it wasn't awesome. It wasn't amazing at all. This was probably one of the hardest seasons of my life because I was, again, so close to God. So close to God. I was almost there.
But a low point at the highest point, I think, is the crazy. Because in each of these seasons, it's like, yeah, I can see how that was low. But now you've made it.
Yes.
You've arrived.
Yeah, and so that's where it's hard to kind of describe of why it was such a low point, because it was like everything externally was going right. Like, we just had a baby, we just got married, we had it all on paper. And I would even tell people that. It was like, because people would be like, wow, like, everything seems like it's going great. Business is doing good. The house looks amazing. River looks healthy. You and Jenna look like you guys are doing great. And I'm just like, yeah. And then
it's all true, but
it's like, yeah, on paper, it is. But then the reality of it all is like, no, it's everything is like going bad. Like, on the inside, like, I'm the unhappiest I've been again, falling back into a depression. It feels like I'm just like, I'm chasing. Nothing's enough. No amount of money is enough. No business fame is enough. I thought that having a child was going to change stuff, and then that didn't really change. It was just added a whole bunch of more pressure, and now realize like, wow, I really do have a lot of flaws, and I have a lot of faults that I need to fix. That just exposed it even more. Being married, wow, I do realize I have a lot more flaws and faults than I even thought too. So I'm just getting exposed all the time. So instead of like these things being great, it's like, no, these things are showing me how kind of a crappy human being I've been for the past 4, 5, 6, 7 years of my life. I was starting to actually get exposed. And so around July, I think I just hit, Jenna and I were we were constantly stressed out about everything. And I hit another really, really low point in my life. It was pretty far away from God still, but I was pursuing God, but the closeness was almost off. Like, I was chasing God more than, honestly, I felt like I had in a long, long time, almost ever. Like, I was doing these things, and I was really, really chasing him, and I was trying to go all in on him. And I felt like it was just disconnect. And so I had felt this for a long, long time, and I've known more about it. But as I was kind of like religiously following this pastor of Philip Anthony Mitchell, I was listening to him. I run a lot, so I listen to him on my runs every single morning, like his podcast, his sermons, and all this stuff. And I mean, he's pretty intense. He's like very intense, but he's biblically accurate. And I was just like, I was leaning more in. I was trying to be it. I was trying to read my Bible. I was trying to do these things still. And I was just at such a low. I was at such a depression. Like, I was just so unhappy with my life, and I felt so stuck though, because I was like, well, where do I go now? Like, what else can I chase? Like I'm so unhappy. I'm so mad at everything. But like, that's what was making me mad and depressed, was like, I shouldn't be. Like, it's like the complete opposite. And this is when I really realized that it's like, what else is there to gain? Like, what else is there to gain? Like, money's fine. House, where am I going to go from here? Like, I can't really have a nicer house than this. Like, this is anything I could have imagined. Like, my life is pretty nice. I get to make my own schedule. I get to do my things. I get to prioritize running and lifting and everything I care about. I get to hang out with Jenna constantly. I get to hang out with my daughter constantly. Like, I don't have a bad life by any means, but I'm so ungrateful. I'm so unhappy. Like, I'm so just mad all the time. Like, it was just, I think I got so sad and depressed because I felt like this is it. I'm never going to be happy. If I'm not happy now, then I'm never going to be happy. Nothing's ever going to fix this. Like, this is just how my life's going to be. And I hated that. I hated that feeling. And so I was running one day, and I kept on listening to, I've felt God calling me to fast for such a long time, but I never wanted to do it. Not only because like I just didn't want to fast anything, because again, it's just, I was so worldly, where like it was like I don't want to give up anything like that. And so I finally got to the lowest point, and I was just like, I came to Jenna and I was like, I need to fast. I was like, I have to fast. Like, something's got to give, because like I can't keep going on like this. Like, something has to change. And so I basically I fasted for 48 hours, and it was just it was life-changing, honestly. I fasted, and I think that was the first time. It didn't answer my prayers during that time, but I learned how to pray. I truthfully, for the first time in my life, I learned how to pray. And I started praying, because it's like, we always hear like, I never knew how to pray. but my prayers were, God, give me this. God, do this for me. God, I need this. God, help take this away from me. God, me. All about Tanner, all about me. That's how my relationship was with God. Me. Not God, not God's kingdom, not God's calling, not God's, what does he want? What do other people need? What does he have for other people's life? What about Tanner? All about me. It was what about meism to the extreme. And I wonder why I was so unhappy, and I wonder why I was so depressed all the time. Well, it was because, Tanner, your life is centered around you, and that's a pretty depressing life. If your world revolves around you and not something greater, you're going to be depressed. You're going to be anxious. If you are the top and you are the epitome of everything, then yes, you are going to, and you're chasing the world and all these things, you're going to and I think that's what fasting showed me, is like, I love Galatians, and I love literally the back half of the New Testament. Anything Paul writes about, I mean, go dive into it. It literally talks about how everything of the world is bad. Everything that the flesh wants is bad. Everything the spirit wants is good. But these two oppose each other. You can't live one and the other. And I was living 99% flesh, 1% spirit, and I was wondering why. I was wondering why I was so malnutritioned in the spirit, and I was so feeding my flesh, so my flesh was strong, and I was wondering why all my fleshly desires would win all the time. I was wondering why the flesh would constantly be like stronger than my spirit. Well, I never practiced my spirit. I was never growing in my spirit, and so fasted, learned how to pray, and I was doing all of that stuff, and I was doing the Lord's Prayer basically, but breaking it into my own. So I spend 5 to 10 minutes now praying, having to think about, okay, where is God at? Who is God? And I think that's really got me into it too, is we have the Trinity, right? We have God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. Well, God the Father was who I imagined God for a long time. He's the creator of the, watch The Chosen, King of the universe. Yeah. He's Adonai. He's this person, he is the one that I kind of thought of for my early relationship with Jesus or with God himself. He's just this big, massive, powerful being that is all powerful and has all these things, but it was very hard for me to relate to him because I was like, well, he doesn't really care. The loving part. Yeah. That's when I finally got God the Son, Jesus. And so when Jesus, he is a person. He was a person. He felt everything we felt. All my fear, all my anxiety, all my shame, all my guilt, all of these things that I have felt in my life. Jesus has walked this earth and he has felt those emotions. And so he is all loving because he was human in the flesh. He knew all these emotions, all these experiences. He knew what it was like to lose people. He knew what it was like to lose friends and to have people hurt you and betray you and have all of these emotions. And so this was really the first time I was starting to understand who Jesus and God was. And so I was starting to pray differently, and that really started transforming my prayer life during this fast. But after I broke the fast, I felt a million times worse. I was so angry and so disappointed because I thought this was going to answer everything for me. I thought this was going to change my life. I thought this was going to be different. I thought this was the turning point. God, I did this for you. I showed you my surrender for this. So what's going on? Why aren't you changing anything still? And it felt like I was just completely disconnected after I ate that first bite of food. It was I felt like I had antennas on my head, and I felt like I learned how to pray for the first time. And then as soon as I got done, I was like, where are you? It's just I don't hear you. I don't see you. I can't feel you anymore. That next day I was depressed, man. This was rock bottom 2.0. This was just I felt like I was broken. I felt like this was it. Literally, I give it. I've done everything now. I was like, man, I have it all. So nothing worldly is going to make me happy. And I fasted and I prayed, so nothing spiritual is going to make me happy. Maybe this is just who I am. Maybe I'm just a depressed and anxious person who's going to hate his life all the time. Maybe I'm just an angry, miserable person that people don't want to be around. Maybe, and again, all my brokenness, it's just crazy how it still reflects out of me all the time. And so I was just taking all these things, and I was bad. It was around, this is when I had my super natural encounter with Jesus. And this is where my life has completely changed. This is where everything has fell into place. And so after my fast, it was the next day, and it was around 2 in the afternoon, and I was barely getting out of bed. I was so angry. I was so frustrated. I was just defeated. I felt like I was just I was hopeless. That's how I felt. I was like, there's nothing to live for. And so I got out of bed, and I was just trying to mope around. I was being miserable to Jenna. I wasn't happy. I was being a horrible person. And so she was like, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to let you just kind of hang out here. And so she went out with the dogs and River, and I went upstairs and I tried to take a bath because I was just like I was just so depressed. I was like, maybe I just need to do something. And I'm sitting there and I'm crying out to God. I'm like, God, just where are you? Where are you? Like I feel so like, why are you letting this happen to me? Like, why is this me? Why is this like happening to me? Like, why do I feel this way? Why am I always like this? And it was just nothing. And so like I got out of the bath and I'm just so frustrated. I wanted to like punch a hole in the wall. I'm just like, this everything's meaningless. It doesn't matter anymore. And I get in the shower and I turn it to blaring cold because I just needed to like be distracted. I just needed to like not feel anything, or like maybe get distracted by how cold the water was. And so I turned it on blaring cold and I sat down, and man, I'm just like crying grown man tears, I think, at this point. Like I'm just so upset. I feel like it's just worthless. Like everything is completely meaningless. And then I'm not even kidding. I feel like I'm like, Jesus, where are you? And then I feel like at first, like I felt it, that the voice again, like that I had during my prayer, during my fast. It was, I'm here. And then I like looked up in the shower. I'm sitting on my shower, and like my dad kid just sitting there laying down like cold water coming, and I see chosen Jesus, because that's my best representation of him, with his little sandals and robe, sit down right in front of me, and he goes, what do you want, Tanner? I'm here. And I go, Jesus, is that you? And he's like, yes, what do you want? And it's like a whisper, though. It's like his voice is so soft, but like I see him and I feel him. Like I felt like there was a physical being right in front of me. Like I felt like I had my eyes closed. But like I was like, he's right here in front of me. And I just had to focus on him, and I had to like hold on to him, and I had to grab him. And I was like, Jesus, why is this like this? Like, why is my life like this? Why am I struggling this much? Why am I so unhappy? Why am I depressed? And he basically just said, Tanner, do you think carrying my cross was easy? Do you think being crucified was easy? Do you think anything I did for you was easy? And I was like, no, I don't think it was easy. And he said, so why do you think I asked you to carry your cross? And that was the first time I've ever really thought about that. Like, that's the first time I ever thought in my walk with Jesus that it wasn't just going to be blessings, 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 easier, taking everything away, financial blessings, spirit, everything. I just thought of blessing and of, oh, wow, I might have to follow Jesus and suffer. Like, if I have to carry my cross, that's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to hurt. And then I started thinking of Jesus being crucified. And I'm like, that's painful. Like, that's horrible. And he's like, did any of my disciples, how did all my disciples die? The closest people who were with me and they followed me, how did they all die? And I'm like, they died pretty brutal deaths. They all got martyred for you. He said, exactly. I never asked you to follow me because it's easy. I asked you to follow me because it's worth it. And I was like, wow. And he said, so Tanner, you need to carry your cross. So I'm not telling you this is going to be easy, but I'm telling you it's going to be worth it. And I was just like, okay, like that's okay, dang, Jesus, like you're starting to hit a little bit. And then he basically went on to the second thing, and he was like, Tanner, you're saying you're drowning all the time. You're saying you're not able to, you're drowning in your emotions, your depression, your anxiety, all these things. He said, but you're so focused on the storm. You're always so focused on the negative things in your life that you never have your eyes on me. And he said, so like he basically related it to me when Simon Peter got out of the boat and walked on water during that storm when they were in the sea. And he said, when was Simon able to walk on water? And I said, well, when he had his eyes on you. And he said, okay, exactly. And when did he get submerged underwater? When did he go under? When did he feel like he was drowning? Because that's the word I usually used all the time was, I feel like I'm drowning. And he said, when did he go underwater? And I was like, well, when he took his eyes off of you. And he said, exactly. When you are so focused on the storm, no wonder you're going to feel like you're drowning. Because when you're focused on the storm, your eyes are off of me. I'm not saying that the storm's not going to happen and you're not going to go through storms. I'm saying that your focus needs to be on me and you'll be able to walk on water. If you focus on me, you'll be able to do miraculous things. If you focus on me, it's going to work out for you. But if you focus on the storm and everything that is wrong, then you're going to drown. You're going to go underwater. And I was like, okay, wow, that's another good point. Yeah, thank you for that. And then he was just spitting things out at me. And I was like, step 3, he said, Tanner, there's no neutrality in this world. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, again, I say he said, because it literally felt like I was having a conversation with him right in front of me. And he said, you're bearing fruit. And I've always heard of fruit in the Bible. And he said, you're bearing fruit for 2 people. You're not neutral. You're either bearing fruit of the devil or you're bearing fruit of me. Mm-hmm. And he said, so right now, take a look inventory of what you're doing. How are you acting? And I was like, oh, I'm greedy. I'm selfish. I'm angry. I don't have self-control. I don't have self-control over my emotions. I don't have self-control over I'm so disciplined on my physical side, my body, but with my emotions and my spirit, I have zero self-control. I'm depressed. I'm sad. I'm angry. I'm all of these things. And he said, does that represent anything of me? Mm-hmm. And I was like, no. And he said, so exactly. You're going around bearing fruit of the devil. You're going around bearing the fruit of all these negative things and making it your personality. Mm. You're basically just being a poster child for the devil. Mm. And he said, what do I represent? And I said, well, you represent love. You represent peace. You represent joy. You represent self-control. You represent slow to anger. You represent all of these things. And he goes, exactly. Do you bear any of those? I said, no. And he said, so why would you think you're one of mine? Mm. And I was like, well, okay. Yeah. And he said, so you need to pick your fruit. And he said, because you will know them by your fruit. And he was like, if you don't start bearing my fruit, then how will I know you're mine? And I said, okay, you got me there. So I need to start doing that. And then finally, he was just basically like, again, just like, Tanner, I'm not asking you like all of this stuff, like that it's going to be easy, that it's going to do it, but it's going to be worth it. So please just pick up your cross, focus on me, and surrender, because you don't know what I can do with a surrendered life. You've been this close to me, but you need to surrender your life. You need to give up these things that you're unwilling to give up, and you need to focus all on me. You need to be 100% in on me, because you don't know what I can do with your life when you go all in on me. And I said, all right, God, my life is yours. I'm fully surrendered. I'm fully obedient. Whatever you want from me, whatever you need from me, whatever you want me to do. If you say move, I'll move. If you say jump, I'll jump. If you say sit, I'll sit. If you say give, I'll give. Whatever you want, that is what I'll do. And I basically and then it ended, and I was like, what just freaking happened? I got on my phone and I put like a 20-minute voice note in my phone because I didn't want to forget this. I'm like, I think I just had a supernatural encounter with Jesus. Like, oh my gosh. Jenna came back from her walk. It's been like 40 minutes. I just wasted 40 minutes of water sitting on the cold shower. And she came back from her walk, and she was like, I walked out of the bathroom. I'm like, hey baby, what's up? She was like, are you okay? I was like, I'm great. She's like, what happened? And she was like, what just happened? Like, are you on something? And I was like, no, and I told her all this experience that I just had with Jesus. And she was like, well, how do you feel? And I said, I don't feel any different. I said, I don't feel differently on the inside. I said, but like, I'm going to be different. Like, I'm going to surrender my life. Like, I kind of had to fake it till I make it. And from that day on, that was around, a couple months ago, and like from that day on, it's been basically like a slingshot, because I've always been in church. I've always been in in the word, not really in the word, I would say. Like, I've been in I've always listened to podcasts, and I've always listened to sermons, and I was always diving in trying to gain knowledge, but I never had a relationship with God. I was never surrendered to God. I never actually knew what it meant to be like, you are my Lord. Like, and that's where I think a lot of people want to come around, especially American Christianity. I treated God as my savior. He did save me from my sins. He saved me. He died on that cross for me, but I wasn't treating him like my Lord. And like we read the sinner's prayer in Romans 10, because a lot of people want to like point back to that. It doesn't say confess that Jesus is your Lord, Savior. It says confess that Jesus is your Lord. And in first century AD, when you confess someone is your Lord, that means their life is your life is theirs. That it doesn't matter what you want. It doesn't matter what you want to do with your day. It doesn't matter how you want to live. It doesn't matter how you want to act or dress or talk or anything. You have to sacrifice your life for Jesus. Like you have to give your life to Jesus. And that's really where it was. And so what I wanted to do is what I realized after getting out of that experience was God spoke to me only through biblical text. Everything God told me was through biblical text. It was carry your cross. It was his crucifixion. It was Simon on the water, walking on the water, and it was your fruit. Like what fruit versus like your flesh and versus the fruit. And so I was like, okay, I need to become more biblically literate. And so from that, like that's where God really spoke to me, was mainly like the things that have changed in my life is my prayer. And so every morning I get up now, again, prayer in secret is done. Like that's how actually the secret to praying is praying in secret. And so I will tell you this, not because of like I do, Tanner gets up and does this because he's so, no, it's just what works for me now. God met me on that bathroom floor in a cold shower. That's how I start my morning every day. Because if you try to find the time, you'll never find the time. You have to make the time for God. And it always needs to be at the beginning. Because I know when I don't do it now, my days are completely off. If I don't pray in the morning. And so I get on that cold shower, I turn it on before I go run, and I'll sit down on the thing in like a little fetal position, and I'll pray for 20, 30 minutes. But I pray like how Jesus wants me to. I pray, I start praying for the world. And then I go down. I'm like, well, okay, now I pray for the nation. And then I pray for things that like I don't like in the world that God wouldn't represent and that God go against, like the porn industries that ruin young men's lives constantly, because I struggled with that for a long time. It's like, it was horrible. And I know how many young men, it's probably like 95% of young men, and it's not even talked about. And that's literally the biggest thing. I was like, so that I talk about how college pushes weed and marijuana, or weed and alcohol, and sexual immorality and bad lifestyles. I pray for that even in high school, because that's what people think is the dream. That's what people think is, I made it. That's what people think is the best life for them, is doing that stuff. That being a guy and having multiple partners is the best life, because you're balling, that like all of this stuff. And so I start praying for that. And then I pray for my unsaved family members. I start praying for them, and I start doing all this stuff. And then I start praying for Jenna and River and my friends and all this thing. And then 25 minutes into a prayer, and I haven't mentioned me once. And I'm like, oh yeah. And God, I'm sorry. And then when I do talk about me, it's me saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm this way. I'm sorry I'm a sinner. I'm sorry I'm this stuff. And it's completely changed my life. And then reading the Bible. My biggest thing is becoming so biblically literate that no one can have like I can have a conversation. I can back up anything that I say with biblical text, because that is truly how God spoke to me, is through your Bible. And so like I heard you guys we're talking on another podcast about the three voices, about how do you differentiate between yourself, the devil, and God. Well, you can't unless you know the Bible, because the Bible is the only way God's going to talk to you, because the devil knows scripture. The devil knows scripture, and the devil's voice is loud, and your voice is even louder. And like those are the two voices that I heard all the time, and I would just confuse it with God. And so now, like, I just want to hear God. I just want to be so faithful. That's like my biggest thing now, is like all I want to do is live a faithful, surrendered, and obedient life. Because if I live those three things, I'm not just going to have a happy and blessed life. Like biggest thing for me was like Sermon on the Mount. The Beatitudes, blessed are they. Like, that's how I want to live. I want to be humble. I want to be meek. I want to be a peacemaker. I want to do all these things. Like, that's how I just want to be faithful, surrendered, and obedient. Because if I can do those three things, I'm going to have the best life humanly possible. I'm going to also guarantee that my name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life. I'm also going to guarantee that I'm spreading the word, moving the kingdom forward for my family. That's like the biggest thing for me now is if I'm obedient, surrendered, and faithful to God, it doesn't matter what my financial stability looks like. It doesn't matter what any circumstance looks like. It doesn't matter how anything goes in life. It doesn't matter if the world's falling down. I know that God's got my back because I'm actually living in his purpose, and God's word will never fall to the floor. And this is the first time I've actually truly felt like I've had peace. This is the first time that I've truly felt like I've had joy again, and not just like manufactured peace and artificial joy. It's like, this is true peace and joy. Now, does that mean everything's easy? No, it's probably a little harder than it was before. Like, I've had to give up a lot. Like, we've had to completely give up our old ways of thinking. I've had to surrender all of these things that I did like, and it's very uncomfortable. I basically had to get broken to be a new person. But just like Paul says, like, the old is dead. Like, when you give your life to Jesus, like, you can't be walking in the old anymore. Because if you're still walking in the old, then have you really given your life to God? And that's truly for me. So when we want to talk about like a heart check, I was so close. And I've had this conversation with many people, and I would just say, like, I've had conversations with people who are very probably new to their faith, and conversations with people who are very strong in their faith. And I said, honestly, if I died, I don't know. If I died a year ago, I don't know if I would have went to heaven. And they're like, well, Tanner, that's a little extreme. Like, that's a little crazy. Like, God was where, and I was like, no, God was calling me. God wanted me, but I would never actually fully accept God. And I would never and I can say that I did. I can say it with my words, but God doesn't say they will know me with He actually says, Jesus says, their words will be sweet, but their hearts will be far from me. They will praise me with their words, but their heart will be distant and cold. That's exactly how I was. So, like, we can say we're Christian. We can say we follow Jesus. Do you have fruit? Where's your fruit at? Are you truly doing it? Because if you truly have been changed by God, your actions will follow. Because what you truly believe in, you start thinking. And when you start thinking a certain way, your actions follow. And so that's really what happened. It was because, again, I said I've been a Christian my entire life. I haven't lived a Christian lifestyle probably till 6 months ago. Haven't actually started fully living like a true Christian should, and not a Christian, a disciple. Because, again, there's no Christian in the Bible. There's a disciple in the Bible. And that's being a follower of Jesus and becoming as close to Jesus Christ as I can be. And I'm never going to be perfect. And that's where grace comes in. We're not expected to be perfect, but I'm expected to surrender my life. I'm expected to trust him and follow him and be obedient and be as faithful as I can. And man, it's been hard, and it's not been the most comfortable, but it's been the most worth it thing that I've done. And it's been nice not caring about what is Tanner Roy's kingdom, what is Tanner Roy building on this earth. That's going to be Ecclesiastes. It's going to be gone with the wind. But I've even, like, my whole thing is now kingdom forward. That's what I always talk about. Like, again, I won't lie, I was anxious to come on here today, and Jenna had to remind me, Tanner, what do you always say? What's your number one purpose in this world? And I said, kingdom forward. And that means moving God's kingdom forward. And she said, well, do you think this was moving the kingdom forward? I said, yeah. She said, okay, then so it doesn't matter. Go do it. And so that's what I had to do, is like, anything that moves the kingdom forward is worth doing. And that's really that's my whole philosophy now. Having a conversation with a random person at a gas station, does it move the kingdom forward? Yeah. So it's worth that 15 minutes. Having a conversation at the gym and I don't get to work out because I'm talking to some person about God, kingdom forward, it's all that matters. Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm at in my personal walk with Jesus now.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah.
That was powerful. I don't think I have any words.
Honestly, because it's like we had questions, we had closes, but more than just the words that you have, your passion for speaking the truth of it. It's not just emotions. It's not just feelings. Like you, I don't even know if you know how much truth from the word you're speaking when you're speaking it. It's just that you're so in it that it's just naturally coming, which is kind of what we had talked about last week. And with the fruits of the Spirit, Abby had mentioned this last week, and I never thought of it like this, and I felt so dumb. But it's the fruits of the Spirit, like not the fruits
of the flesh.
It's not the fruits of you. So if you are a Christian, if you are a disciple, if you are a believer, and you believe that Jesus died on the cross, and you have the Spirit living inside of you, that fruit is only possible by him.
Yes.
So it does make me wonder too, in seasons of my life where I'm like, I believed and maybe I had some of those fruits, like I was striving to be those, but they weren't just like from the Spirit, and I can tell the difference and I can see the difference and I can see it in you. And so thank you for Kingdom First, Kingdom Forward.
Kingdom
So we said
Forward.
Kingdom Forward. Thank you for making that your new motto and for coming on here today, because I don't even know the amount of people that this is going to bless. We may end up doing it as like a 2-part even, because I don't want to cut anything. I really don't. Like everything.
I talked a lot. Sorry about that,
No,
guys.
don't apologize. Like everything that you said pointed back to God. Everything that you said is going to meet somebody somewhere, because there's so many elements to your story that got you to the place that you are now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I like what you said, but if anybody's out there, go read Galatians 5, because if you want to see a clear differentiation between the flesh and the spirit, go read Galatians 5, because I mean, you cannot live for the flesh, because I mean, go read any of it and then say, okay, am I living any of those ways? And then it says, okay, well, if you are, then you will not inherit the kingdom of heaven, because those aren't the spirit. And I'm like, oh, well, I checked 8 of those boxes out of the 10, so I probably needed to switch how I was living. And then again, it's just calling myself a Christian, but hollow words.
I had a Bible verse that I looked up before that goes right along with your whole story. Hold on. It was James, we love James, 1:22. It says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves, do what it says. And so right off of what you said of go read it and live it. Don't just read it and push it to the back of your head. Live it out and be obedient, because even though that, I love how you said, like, I don't feel any different, but you're still obedient. And I think a lot of us look for that feeling, and so then we do turn to the world. But when we're obedient, we see the fruit that comes from it. And so I'm just so proud of you and what God is doing in your life and how obedient you are. It's encouraging to me as well. So
that's good. If what you're seeking is a feeling, the world can give you lots of feelings. Lots of feelings. The world doesn't promote healthy obedience. Like, discipline. Like you said, you were physically disciplined, but not spiritually. You can be a disciplined person, but not be a surrendered person. And so when it comes to a life with Jesus, it's not been comfortable for me. There are so many different elements in my story versus yours, but so many similarities. I think if anybody's listening today, and not that maybe it is a heart check of questioning your walk and where you truly are with your faith. Are you a believer? Are you a hearer of the word? Do you have a lot of Bible knowledge, but you're not living it out? Are you a doer of it? Are you surrendered? Because you can know all of the things. You knew a lot of the things. And the words that Jesus said to you were scripture. They were sound. But then you could have had that encounter, been like, well, I don't feel different, and not lived it out. Could have had that encounter, or maybe you're listening and what you're longing for is an encounter. You're like, man, I would believe if I just had like this moment. If you're wanting his voice, open his word. Like, it's right there. The words that he spoke to you in the shower aren't different than the words that are in there.
Yeah, and I think also too, like, don't just pick the words you think you want to know. Go read the ones, because I think the whole spark of me getting back into my Bible was because I wanted only the good stuff, and I never wanted the hard stuff. And I think actually scaring me, like, I needed to be scared. I needed to be shaken and awakened, like, hey, you die tomorrow, where are you going? Like, this is forever. And this isn't just some random person that's talking. This is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
This isn't some pastor online giving me his opinion. He's just reading what Jesus said. Like, and I'm like, wow, Jesus is talking about heaven and hell. And it's scary. And I needed it. I needed to be scared, because now it's not like you're living out of, but it's like, okay, there's 2 options that I get to choose. Like, I mean, one of my favorite things is the path is wide that leads to destruction. The path is narrow that leads to salvation. And it's wide because it's easy. It's wide because it's glamorous. It's wide because it's enjoyable. One of the biggest things that I heard was like, or best things I've ever heard was, it's like, right now Satan we think of hell as this big nasty prison of of fire and all this stuff. Well, right now the prison that you're in is like it's full of drugs and alcohol and women and men and lust and all these things that make it so comfortable, gluttony, all of these things that just make it so easy to stay in, and the door's wide open. God's calling you out of this door, But the devil just makes the cell so comfortable and so eager to stay inside. But then one day that door is going to close. And once it closes, there's no opening it. And it depends on what side you're on. You can be outside in freedom, at true freedom. And when that door closes, you can be like, I'm glad I'm not in there. But you can still stay inside and you can stay in the comfortability of your sin. And when you stay in there, it's very comfortable. The world praises it. It's going to be actually easier to do. But then once that door closes, you're there. And that's where the devil has you. And so that's really where I had to get out. I was like, okay, I like my cell. I like my prison. It's mine. It's all my stuff, but I want freedom. I want eternal freedom. And so, yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We appreciate you, for real. Thank you for being obedient, not just in your walk with Christ, but in all the things he's calling you to, and for being here today and speaking to not just us, but to glorify the Lord and to reach whoever needs it, because there's a lot of people who need to hear hard truths, and it might be easy to think, yeah, well, that person can say that because they've had a perfect life. You had both. You had a childhood and teenage years of a lot of tragedy and deep questions with God, and then you felt like you had it all, and it still wasn't enough. So I think it reaches whoever it needs to.
God will use it how he wants to.
God will use it for
God
the
will
one,
use it.
right?
For the
for the
one.
one.
That's what we say every
Are
week.
you a listener?
I think I texted that. All right, well, thank you, Tanner.
Thank
We
you.
always sign off every week just by saying XOXO Godly Girls.
So, with that being said,
XOXO Godly Girls.
And Tanner.
If this podcast is encouraging you or helping you grow in any way, please let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
Want to be a part in the ministry God is doing? Check out the donation link in the description or support us by simply hitting like, subscribe, or share.
Any engagement from you helps push this podcast to one more person.
Thank you for all your support.